So a lot of people feel like being lost is a failure, but what if being lost is actually the path that you have to be on to get to where you actually belong in life?
Is there anything that we need to unlearn from high school? We've had some great teachers, but we've also had teachers that didn't really plant the right seeds into grooming us for the future.
They've conditioned us in a way that your education is the one thing that cannot be taken away from you.
If I really think about this, I don't think I've had a teacher in high school that has asked me what I want to do after school.
They were conditioned as well, to work hard and just get the pupils out. Being in the C class myself, you were considered the lazy bunch.
Okay.
I've realized that my teachers in school were bullies and we did not know it. I did not know it. Because to be honest, they broke my spirit. I always regretted not becoming what I wanted to.
And what did you want to become? Sometimes life brings somebody back into your life for a reason. With me today is somebody I went to high school with. Back then, we were both figuring things out, trying to navigate a system that didn't always teach us how to feel and heal, but rather how to perform. Today, she's a certified counselor with clients all over the world, teaching resilience, crafting a space for wellness and safety, and a soon-to-be published author, Pranitha Shah. Pranitha, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I have to say, it was really lovely bumping into you after 20 odd years.
Yeah, it actually took me by surprise.
But it's always wonderful when you see somebody from school and it kind of brings back all of the memories. You and I went to primary school together.
Yes.
We went to high school together.
Yeah.
We almost shared the same boyfriend. We were just talking about this before. But I think what's really lovely is that we connected. I heard your story, and I thought it would be great to chat to you today. So for our viewers, who is Pranitha and what brings you to Freelify Connect today?
I'm Pranitha Shah. I am a mother of two. And I am a freelance counseling practitioner with clients all over Africa and the UK. I am in the process of writing a book called The Compass Within, which in a nutshell is about your lostness, your journey to lostness. A lot of people feel like being lost is a failure, but a lot of people don't see it as what if being lost is actually the path that you have to be on to get to where you actually belong in life.
Yeah, I think we've walked that journey together. And like you said, we didn't really connect in high school or in primary school, but I feel we share something really, really common. So when we thought about coming together and having a conversation, one of the things we reflected on was our experience in school. And one of the things we amplified on was we believe that learning every day, being consistent learners, is really, really important. My dad and mom still have conversations with me about being a learner, having an open mindset. But one of the things I questioned after seeing you and after thinking about high school, my matric certificate, just all of those memories, I asked myself, is there anything that we need to unlearn from high school or school? The reality is that we come from a small community. We've had some great teachers, but we've also had teachers that didn't really plant the right seeds into grooming us for the future. In fact, if I really think about this, I don't think I've had a teacher in high school that has asked me what I want to do after school, where I want to travel to, what I enjoyed. I don't think any teacher asked me about whether I want to become an entrepreneur. I mean, we would have market day at school, We'd sell a
Yes.
bunch of cookies that our parents would make and try to make money, and then go
Yeah.
literally not make a profit.
Yes.
Right? But I don't think we were really exercised to leave school with confidence, lack of fear. Were we just in school to get past grades? Was there something we didn't learn in high school, or we should have learned in high school, or that we could have been taught in high school? There's actually one. Did you do speech and drama in school?
I did.
You did. Was it in
We
matric?
did it together.
In matric.
Not matric, but I think it was maybe grade.
Grade 8 and 9.
Yes, yeah.
So I did speech and drama up until matric.
Okay.
And the only teacher in the entire school from standard 6 to matric was our speech and drama teacher, who really vested in me and asked me what I wanted to do when I left school, which university I was going to, what were the 3 different faculties I was accepted in.
Yes. You know, that is such a wonderful topic that you brought up. Because personally, in school, especially high school, I felt personally that I was not seen as a person. And when I say seen, I don't mean like when my name is called during roll call or when I enter the class. I mean seen as a person with stories, you know, with ambition. I was seen as the person just on paper, the marks that never really met a certain level of expectations. You know, we both come from an Indian community, and you know, it was coming out of like apartheid. Everyone was trying to figure out who they were, trying to learn what path they wanted to take, and within that journey, I personally felt like the most important thing that was lost was connection. Our teachers did not have that connection with students. Yes, we did have a guidance counselor in school, and not once did I ever feel like that guidance counselor's doors were open to us.
Yes.
You know, when we came to grade 11, it was the guidance counselor that should have said, okay, you know, you are in grade 11, what are your career paths when you're done with school? Do you need help with university applications?
Yes.
Or if you cannot afford it, you know, these are your options.
Yes.
It was nothing like that.
Yes. And it's so interesting because our parents, bless them, our parents did the very best they knew how to do.
Yes.
In fact, if I were to go back and ask any more of my parents, I couldn't because of everything that they've given me. But in our small community, they've sent us to these schools that they could afford to send us to, hoping that these educators would plant the right seeds in us and give us something that they didn't know how to in terms of knowledge. But you're right, nobody ever assisted me in my university applications. In fact, I think I did them on my own, and positively it was fine. But I'm trying to question myself, what connection did I have? Do you think, and this is not an opinion, it's not a fact, it's a question, do you think that our teachers did not invest enough because we were from a really, really poor community in public school and we were almost seen less than?
Maybe. I think, you know, a lot of our teachers were also trying to discover who they were. And like I said, you know, along that journey with finding out who they were as well, the connection was lost.
Yes.
You know, and they were conditioned as well, you know, to work hard and just get the pupils out because they were also Indian.
Yes.
The school that we went to had we had only Indian teachers. I don't remember any other teacher of color.
Also students, I don't
And
remember
it was
having
predominantly Indian. Yes, it was
any
predominantly.
colleagues in my class that weren't Indian, which has changed a lot
It
for the
has.
better.
It has.
But how has that impacted us now as adults?
You know, they've conditioned us in a way that your education is the one thing that cannot be taken away from you. So you had to work hard to get those grades and those marks that would push you above the next. You know, they never taught us to think out the box.
Yes.
You know, it was like you were in the military.
Yes.
You know, it was the general's way or no way.
But I've noticed in high school that, so in the 12th grade, we would have 12A, 12B, 12C, 12D. I think we even had 12E, as we had 5 different grade 12 classes.
I think so.
And if I remember correctly, so I was in 12B, you were in 12C.
I was in 12C.
And I remember that everyone in 12A would get the best treatment. Most of the prefects would come from 12A. Everyone just invested in the A students,
Yeah.
in the A class, only because they did physical science and a few other courses. But I feel like the B class and the C class and the D class and the E class almost got different treatment.
Yes, I agree with you because, like, being in the C class myself, you were considered the lazy bunch.
Huh, okay.
You were almost like oh, you'd never amount to anything. So why am I putting my energy into you?
Is that really the feeling that you got?
I've never spoken about this in so many years of my life.
Yeah.
This is now the first time that it's actually coming up because, you know, when you contacted me and you said this is what you'd like to do, and I spoke to my husband about it, and, you know, it's actually funny because my daughter was asking my husband what was school like for him, because he was in school in India and he went to a military school, so he was explaining to my daughter what school was like for him. She then asked me the question, and I said to her, you know, it was very different for me because I was never seen. You know, I was actually told when I went to school to fetch my matric certificate by one of our teachers, who I will not mention any names,
Yeah.
but I was told that they had all taken a bet amongst the teachers that I will not be there
No.
to collect my matric certificate. And those words I can
Was there
tell
a
you now.
bet that you wouldn't pass almost?
Yes.
Wow.
Because they had already given up. They'd already written me off, you know. And personally, I felt, and now that I think about it and through my studies and helping people, I've realized that my teachers in school were bullies, and we did not know it. I did not know it. I mean, teachers can be bullies. Because, to be honest, they broke my spirit.
How did that impact you in life after school?
I was afraid to do anything. I was afraid to take a chance because I was made and conditioned, you know, to feel like I was not good enough. And no matter what I did, I was always going to fail. Because if my teachers could take bets that I was not going to be there to fetch my matric certificate, to make it through matric, who was going to believe in me?
You know, Pranitha, I've never said this to anyone else but my husband, but it's incredible that you talk about your experience fetching your matric results. Because I think we got our results we would get our results in the newspaper.
Yes.
And the next day we would go to school to pick up our matric certificates.
Yes.
And my entire class were in the staff room with our form teacher, grade teacher, giving us our matric results. You know, this was embarrassing to say out loud before, but I'm very proud of who I am, so I'll say it now. But my high school teacher told me that I fluked the A's that I got in my matric year. And I think that could have hindered my confidence, but it didn't. But I also don't discount that at the same time, that could hinder somebody else's confidence. Big time.
Yes.
So when you finished school, what did you do? And what could have been done better in school that would have changed that?
The day I wrote my last paper, I packed up and I left Durban.
Okay.
That very night, I came up to Johannesburg because my dad was here and my sister was here. My dad was working, so that day I had traveled up to Johannesburg. I think maybe the decision that was taken was um, for a fresh start, a place where nobody knew me, so that I could try to make something of my life. Because look, my parents gave us everything, that everything that they could.
Yes.
You know, my dad worked really hard. I have 3 other siblings, you know, and unfortunately, you know, they could not give us like, oh, you're done now, you know, there is your education fund or your education policy.
Yes.
Go ahead and study whatever you want to. But the values that they instilled in us, that no matter if it doesn't matter if we cannot put you through school, you can do it. You know, you are strong, you are bright, you are brave. Walk your path. It doesn't matter even if you work in a restaurant, you work your tables, and you put yourself through university.
Yes.
You'll be proud of the hard work that you've done. No matter how many times life knocks you down, you get yourself back up and you walk your journey.
Yes.
And that was the biggest reason, I think, why I left. But I just wish that my teachers in school would have guided me better.
Do you think that would have played a big role?
That would have played an immense role.
So what was your first job? And was that a plan, or did it just land?
It was not a plan.
Okay.
When I came up to Johannesburg, I worked in logistics,
Right.
warehousing and logistics, and I'm grateful. I worked in that field for many years, and I've gained a lot of experience. But I always regretted not becoming what I wanted to.
And what did you want to become?
I loved history. I wanted to do everything and anything that pertained to history. I mean, I wanted to be an archaeologist in school because I loved history so much. But
Does that still live in you? Do you
It
still
does.
question what
it does. But the path that I'm on now, I feel like this is the path that I've always had to be on. And if my teachers had invested in me at that young age, they would have maybe picked up that my passion was not in archaeology.
Yes.
And that my passion was actually in helping people, because I listen to people not with my brain or my mind. I listen to people with my heart. I give advice from within.
And then when was the counselor in you born? When did that happen?
The counselor in me came out during COVID. When I lost my dad to COVID in 2021, and I saw everyone around me, the people that I loved the most in my life, slip into depression, especially my mother. She felt like there was no way out, so she took, she took the path that she thought was the only way she could deal with the passing of my dad, and I couldn't help them. I didn't know how to help them, and I think that's when my journey on lostness actually began, and when I found that if I did this, I'd be able to help, because I would be able to see the signs, and I'd know at least the ground rules of how to help somebody that's slipping into depression.
Yes.
And that's where my passion and my path to counseling began.
And it's incredible. Now you have clients all across South Africa,
Yes.
Africa, and the UK.
Yes.
And how do you assist them? What do you find are the biggest needs with founding teams, with individuals? What are some of their needs that we feel we need to tap into in terms of wellness?
Counseling comes with a really big stigma. And that is if you break down and if you cry, or if you pick up your hand and say, I need help, people would see you as being weak. People will see you as not being able to take care of your family or take care of anything for that matter. So that is the biggest thing that I've come across in people.
One of the things we've been speaking about is how do they deal with the siloed approach to freelancing, because I feel like freelancers need wellness tips now more than ever. What have you found to be the biggest gaps with individuals and companies globally today?
It is the biggest thing that I've come across is that a lot of companies they award hard work. They celebrate pushing forward no matter how burnt out you are, without raising a hand and saying, my workload is too much.
Yes.
They celebrate the fact that they have employees that will go over and beyond their capabilities. And when I say capabilities, I don't mean the work, or the educational capabilities. I'm talking about their physical, emotional, mental capabilities.
Right.
And if for them to break down is frowned upon. And that's a stigma that comes with mental health. Breaking down is a no-go, because you are considered weak, because then the company will say you're not mentally capable to handle the position that you have. They don't really see beyond that. They don't see the burnout. They don't see the emotional exhaustion that one goes through.
Yes.
And being in a management position, you're not allowed to show your emotions. Because if you show your emotions as a manager, you are weak and you are not strong enough for the position.
So how are you currently stepping in to help this?
I am saying break the stigma, break the boundaries. If you're going to pick up your hand and say, I need help, I need to speak to somebody because I am mentally and physically and emotionally burnt out, that's not a company for you. Take a stand, break the stigma, and say, if you're going to break me emotionally and mentally, what am I doing? Why am I here? If you are not going to support me, why do I have to give my 100% to you?
What was really interesting recently is my oldest sister spoke to me about confidence levels of people she's worked with that's come out of public school and people she's worked with that come out of private schools.
Yes.
And she said to me, when she worked at Unilever, she sat around the room with colleagues that went to private school and colleagues that went to public school. And she observed a really, really big difference in the confidence levels between those two groups of people. Do you think coming out of the schools we've come out of has hindered our confidence levels to be brave and confident enough to push back? I say this because in my previous corporate role, I resigned because I refused to be disrespected. I refused for somebody that got paid 7 or 8 times more than I got paid to wake up every morning on the wrong side of the pillow and treat me as a punching bag. I felt confident to make the decision to say, I don't want that for me. It's hindering my wellness. It's really, really toxic behavior. It's giving me anxiety. I cannot change a multi-million-dollar industry. This management style is not going to change. I need to leave. But there was 2 concepts there. I felt confident to do it, and I also felt brave to do it. But when I look at my older siblings, having gone to the same schools I went to, when I look at friends of mine that went to the same schools I went to, I do notice a difference in terms of being a little bit more formal in their thinking, wanting to be in safe jobs because they're scared to go out there and try something new. And then I see folks that come out of private schools where they were introduced to different race groups. They have different race groups as friends. We were very sheltered in an only Indian school. Now I have friends from different races and I love it, but we were not exposed to that. But when I look at people from public school and private school, I do see a confidence difference. Why is that?
Like I previously mentioned, we went to a predominantly Indian school. We came from an Indian community that was fresh out of apartheid, and I mentioned everybody was growing, everybody was trying to figure out who they were. It was that they tried to give us the one thing that could never be taken away, and that was education.
Yes.
Whereas, and that being a public school, they wanted the pupils to succeed without guiding them in the right path. Whereas if you look at a private school, they have the wellness centers, which we in a public school never had. They're guidance counselors, and they have professional psychologists on school grounds that kids can go to and speak to and say, this is what I want to do. My daughter decided at the age of 3 what she wants to do when she is done with school. And I always thought, how you are 3. I mean, she's now 7. And when I look at her confidence levels compared to mine, it's huge. It's enormous. And it's because they get the guidance to think outside the box. Don't only think of a 9-to-5 job. There's so many things out there. The world is so big. Put your feelers out. We never got that. We were taught, you come to school, you study, you get your marks, you leave school, you get your 8-to-5. If you cannot go to university and get a degree, you go and do an 8-to-5 to secure a future and start a family. I mean, we are Indian after all. That unfortunately was the mindset that we grew up in. Now it's changed.
So we matriculated in 2003.
Yes.
It's 2025. Do you think if you were to go back to that high school, there would be a massive shift? Do you think teachers are... Because one of the key differences between private school and public school are the educators.
Yes.
And the educators in private school are very vested in students. I see it now that I have nieces and nephews and they are going to private school. I see the difference in terms of the support they get versus the support we got.
Yes.
Do you think that teachers are vesting a little bit more in students now in public schools, giving them a little bit more guidance in terms of being entrepreneurs, exercising their ideas into business ventures, experimenting different things in life? Or do you think it's the same exercising of finishing each grade and going off to college and working? Do you think they really are tapping into students' strengths and weaknesses?
To a certain extent, I'd say they are. But they are also still, the schooling has to change.
So if you were, so sitting here right now, if you were to humbly address public school educators, what would you appeal to them? What would you ask them for? What would you ask them to consider that you feel they're not exercising sufficiently today?
Connection. Try to connect with each student on a personal level. And when I say personal level,
On one-to-one.
I don't mean get to know what your student ate for supper last night, or what they watched, or what is happening at in their daily lives. I mean, connect with them on a level that because each person, each student, each human being has a different story. Get to know your student's story.
Yes.
That is the only way you will understand your student on a personal level. And you will then know and notice each student's strengths and each student's weaknesses. And that will give you the right path in which to steer them. Some would have their strongest their strongest point would be art. It's okay. Go into that. A lot of people feel like being an artist, yes, it's a difficult industry. However, if that is what brings out your creativity, why not?
Yes.
Why not try your hand at it? We need to start thinking out the box.
And do you think that would steer kids to leave school and become a little bit more innovative, broad-minded, and creative in the ways of work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you feel like you don't want to go into university immediately after you finish matric, that's okay. But don't say you're taking a sabbatical. Say, I would like to try my hand at a freelance. Try it for a year. See what it does. See where it gets you.
Yes.
And then say, okay, I'd like to study maybe freelance in marketing. Oh, okay, that's where my passion lies, marketing. I'd like to study further in marketing and continue with my freelance. And maybe that would actually allow students to open up their own businesses instead of working a 9-to-5.
Yes. That's deep. So, to any educators listening, this is coming from a wellness counselor with clients all over the world, schooled in public school, with so much of feedback in terms of our experience back in the day. So, if we are vesting all of our energy with students studying mathematics, physical science, biology, this is such a great episode. Try to explore your students one-to-one. Tap into children's strengths. We are sitting on the biggest crisis in terms of youth unemployment right now. We need teachers to start exercising innovative thinking for students. We need our educators, whether in public schools or private schools, to start vesting in the children's futures. So it's not about mathematics, it's not about physical science, it's not about the A class, it's about vesting in all of your students' strengths and weaknesses.